Are we live now, Tanvir?
Or unmuted?
Yeah, now I'm muted.
Okay, welcome everybody. Sorry for the short delay here. We're just trying to get ourselves organized here tonight. I've got a small team. Just like to acknowledge that we're meeting on Treaty 5 territory here again tonight, which is the ancestral lands of the Pasture Cree Nation, as well as many other Indigenous people in the homeland of the Red River Métis. So with that, I will call the meeting to order. Just before I get started, Councillor Hopper has sent his regrets, may come late, and Councillor Atkinson had sent her regrets, and everybody else is present. So somebody should have a resolution to adopt the agenda.
Resolution number 2026-102, moved by myself, second by Councillor Commodore, resolved the agenda be adopted as presented.
Is there any additions to the agenda or any amendments? Seeing none, call the question, all in favor? Opposed? None, 5 opposed. Carried. Okay, so before we're gonna get started, I just sort of thought I would just quickly try to summarize some of the high points. I know our administration have done a lot of great work over the last little while, and we really want to give recognition to them because I know we've asked thousands of questions. So on behalf of the town of DePauw, in council, we're happy to present this budget to the 2026 financial plan to our community tonight. You know, this is one of the most important things that municipal councils will do. And as everybody knows, this will be the last budget that this council will prepare. And what it does is when we're doing this budgeting for community members, you know, we need to sort of balance that, all the services that our community expects with the financial realities that municipalities actually are facing right across Canada. So we continue to face high costs for equipment and insurance and fuels and utility and all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, you know, our community members are expecting a certain level of service, and we have to continue to invest in our infrastructure and plan for the future. So I believe council will support that. You know, our commitment is to, you know, be responsible, have responsible financial management while continuing to make that investment into the quality of services and safety and the economic future of our community. So what you're going to see tonight, our total municipal budget is sitting around $18.394 million. And just as a note, like 28% of that is school taxes, which you'll see. But just to take a little bit, not to shine that as a negative light, you know, the Kelsey School Division has done a great job over the last number of years of maintaining their budget, and actually it's coming in with a small decrease this year as well. So, you know, that's good news, and I guess it's bad news at the same time is that I know that they struggle with the, you know, staffing and those type of problems where, you know, we had conversations of their surplus last year. Generally, when you look at the budget, it's about 16% down based on the revenues, but that's mainly due to the grants that we received. We received significant grants last year. So really what everybody is looking to see is that we see a modest reduction in residential and commercial mill rate this year. That's, you know, going from the residential of 57.687 to 57.222, and its commercial mill rate decreasing from 64.805 to 64.633. But one positive is that, although we would like to see it higher, is our overall assessments also increased by $665,000, about, almost just over 0.3%. And why that's important is that, when that number increases in our overall assessment, it impacts the general mill rate, so, that's good. So when you look at that, we're not seeing significant, with the mill rate change, you're not seeing a big change in what you're gonna pay for property taxes. You're gonna see, $20 on 100,000 assessment. So I just wanted to point out a few other things. It's, for our policing, this year is again one of our largest expenses. Our RCMP costs are coming in about $3.4 million. Fire is coming in about $766,000, and our community safety officers are $266,000. So that's $4.5 million going to community safety or safety services with the RCMP. We continue our commitment. This council has done a good job. We've committed 11% of our budget to reserves, which is around $2 million. But we need to keep in mind that there's also, we put money in reserves. There's also a significant draw out of that reserve that's required to take care of the equipment. I think the investment this year, you'll see in capital is about $1 million in roads. And I'm sure our staff will go through that, or may not, but it's in the budget documents. Machinery replacement, museums, $450,000. So again, our capital budget is largely, our capital budget overall is going to be about $14 million. And overall, there's a large of it is funded externally by grants and their grant dependents. A couple other investments that we're talking, like I said, $1 million in roads, Centennial Drive, water loop improvement. So that's to improve the water on the south end of town's about $800,000. We still are spending some money around the pool. And again, a lot of that money is coming from the grant, landfill and airport. So we appreciate the funding that we're getting from our partners, and I know that our staff continues to work hard on trying to secure more funding down the road. And which is going to be important because the 5-year capital plan, if you look at the 5-year capital plan, it's sitting about $46.5 million. So, a community on its own could never support that type of spending without having some significant supports through provincial and federal funders. And we've had those discussions when you look at developing new lands, although the number is really crazy high, it's all municipalities in the same position, and we need support, continued support on that. Other kind of key point you'll find in here is that the town of The Pas actually provides about $722,000 in grants to support organizations within our community. So as an example, the library gets a grant of about $167,000. The CDC, which is a Community Development Corporation, gets around $150,000. The recycling center gets about $190,000. DMC, we donate to the Tri-Community Foundation annually, $25,000. The handy van gets $20,000, and I know our staff does a great job of doing a bunch of other in-kind work for them, as well as giving them rent. And there's a few other things, animal shelter and Canada Day, we put around $10,000 away for Canada Day. So I think, just to summarize that, our council administration continue to look for opportunities within our organization to improve our efficiencies. As I mentioned, grab that external funding and, look for that external additional support for provincial and federal governments. So just to wrap up, thank the staff for all the hard work that they've done so far. And it's not just in the budget, it's just that everything, this is sort of like an annual should be done in January, but they do a lot of work throughout the year to try to improve the community, try to keep our costs down and to get the best value coming to our community members. And we do face lots of challenges out there, but there's also a lot of opportunities out there. And we have potential arts and culture, recreation upgrades, community safety improvements. And on top of that, we do know that there was an announcement for a primary healthcare clinic, and we're fairly confident that it won't be done next year, but it will be done in the coming years, which will really change the dynamics of our downtown core area. So thank you for everybody, and we'll move it over to the next part, the budget presentation.
Thank you, Mayor Murphy, and we will go through a lot of those items in detail, so I do appreciate that high-level overview.
Yeah. So just for people that are watching online, our controller Laura is actually online as well.
Hopefully there won't be too much of a delay. But the purpose of taxation is so that the town can pay expenses that are associated with providing various community services, as the mayor pointed out. And we're also responsible for collecting both the provincial and Kelsey School Division taxes. Our tax bills are sent out in July of every year and are due August 31st. Late payments are subject to 1.25% monthly penalty. Now, as the budget's being passed a little bit late this year, the tax bills will be sent out a little bit late. For the 2026 budget year, 1 mil would provide the town with $213,000 in revenue. For the purposes of calculating your tax bill, 1 mil equals $1 per thousand of your assessed property value. Your assessed property value is based on the estimated market worth determined by the provincial assessment branch based on local real estate market conditions. Now, the portion that is taxed is 45% for residential properties and 65% for commercial properties, as per the Manitoba Assessment Services. We provided a simplified example of how taxes are calculated here. So for residential properties, you take your assessed value, divide that by 1,000, times by 45, and times by the mill rate. Now, we've used a simplified version here. So, for example, a mill rate of $10 on that would be $450 in taxes. Here we highlight total assessed values in our community. And as you can see, property values went up by the $665,000, which is a 0.31% increase overall in assessed property values for our town. So as the mayor pointed out, as the assessed values increase in the community, total expenses required to provide services are spread out amongst the community members. For the 2025 year, the residential mill rate will be going from 57.687 to 57.222, which includes school taxes. This creates tax revenue of just over $9 million. This is a 0.81% decrease from the 2025 mill rate, and it's approximately 0.63% decrease in tax revenues. So here we've just provided an example of how that would look on a per assessment rate, so that people would be able to see that there's roughly going to be a slight decrease and possibly even no change in their taxation this year. Here we show the last 10 years of mill rates for our community. In 2020, assessment values increased, causing the mill rate to drop. And in 2024, the majority of this increase can be attributed to $543,000 increase in protective services, which equaled 2.689 mils that year. This was the first year of our CSO program, and the RCMP costs alone increased by $471,000 that year, and that was due to the unionization. Major projects the town will strive to undertake in the 2026 year include the Sam Weller Museum redesign, the port apron resurfacing, various recreational upgrades, and a shave and pave throughout town, along with various patching. And a full list of all these projects can be seen on page 13 of the financial plan. And as we go through the departments, the departmental managers will be touching base on these items and presenting more information on them. So moving on to our municipal revenues.
Just 1 second, Laura.
Sure.
Laura, you can move over to that chair there if you want to see. Hard to see. Yeah, no, you wanna pop over to that chair there? If you like, at least you'll be closer and I don't think anybody's using it and. That better? Better. Okay, perfect. Okay, sorry, go ahead, Laura.
No issues.
We got a school teacher in the room here, so be careful. He's already got some.
Mr. Redelius?
Yeah.
So total revenues will be decreasing in the 2026 year from 21.8 million to just over 18.3 million. The majority of this decrease, as the mayor pointed out, is due to project grants that we received in 2025 of about $3.5 million. Education tax accounts for 28% of all tax collected. We do not set the rate and we have no control over it. Education tax decreased by about $20,000 from the 2025 year.
And their overall request is decreased, eh?
Yeah,
From
by
20
about 20,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
Between both provincial and our local Kelsey School Division.
Yeah.
Grant revenue accounts for 28% of total revenue and will decrease by about 40% from 2025. The decrease is mostly due to the Airport Capital Assistance Program funds that were budgeted for in 2025 that we don't have available to us in 2026. $2 million of total grant funds are for capital projects being done by Kelsey Recreation for the various recreation facility upgrades this year. User fees are anticipated to increase by 3% or just over 116,000 in 2026. Our user fees account for 19% of the town's total revenues. Some items that have increased are airport fuel sales in the amount of 150,000 in anticipation of forest fires. Department fees by 80,000 as call volumes have increased and service contracts have been renegotiated. And cemetery fees for increased usage. Items that will see decrease are primarily in the recreation flow-through funding from the Moffat grant, as that's now being ran by a different organization. Our other revenues are projected to increase 5% from 510,000 to 535,000 as interest rates were locked in and a number of people with outstanding tax amounts increase. So for our municipal expenses, total municipal expenditures are projected to decrease 16% from the 21.8 million to just over 18.3 million in 2026. This is a $3.5 million decrease that overall can be mostly associated with the difference in the project spending, again, related to that grant revenue that we're not seeing. So when the grant revenue is received, it's recorded as revenue, and even though it's a capital expenditure, that capital expenditure is recorded as an expense offsetting that grant revenue.
Laura, just as a point for people to understand, transportation services, $3.2 million. Half of that is airporting.
I would have to get into the details there. It's probably roughly around there. Yeah.
Yeah. So just for people that would see like 3.2 million, 1.6 million of that is airport expenses.
Yeah, we will get into the details of the transportation services in just a bit here. Overall, general government services will increase by about 9% in 2026, and they make up 10% of total municipal expenditures. This increase can be attributed to additional wages for Community Safety and Wellbeing Coordinator, which is a new position this year. We've done some increased donations and an increase in Civic Center repairs and maintenance, along with increased insurance rates, hydro, and training, and the cost for some recruitment. Out of the general government services expenses, grants make up 1% of those total municipal expenses and will increase by 24%. A lot of that increase is for the Golden Agers, the Egg Society, Canada Day, Ronald McDonald House, which some of those are new this year, and some small various festival donations, as well as our local scholarships were increased this year. So here we provided a total list of grants for the community to be able to see. Over half the amounts donated belong to the Regional Library, the Paw Community Development Corporation, and Tricom Recycling Center, which the mayor pointed out earlier. This slideshow is also available on the town's website if anyone wants to browse through this particular one later on and see in detail.
How do we issue grants, Laura? Like, how does did people apply for those grants?
Yes, it's all through
What's the-
direct application. They usually either write a letter or they fill out an application form that the town then reviews, and it goes to council for approval.
And that there's a
These
time for grants?
We post the application, sorry Laura, we post the application out on our website in September every year and close by the end of the year by December, so that we'll be able to process it following year.
Okay, good, thanks.
There is a couple stray ones that have kind of come in during budget deliberations that we did
Yeah. Yeah, I know, but for the, I guess for the community.
discussed with council because we were still in the middle of deliberations. Yeah.
Mhm.
So protective services make up 24% of total expenses and will increase by 6% from 4.2 million to 4.5 million in 2026. The majority of this increase can be attributed to RCMP costs, which is equal to 195,000. The fire department will also see an increase of 89,000 from last year's budget as they prep for another wildfire season. Out of total protective services, the RCMP costs make up 16% of the municipal expenditures. And here you can see the actual costs in relation to the budget in that year, as well as the crime prevention grant that the town receives that offsets these costs. And here we wanted to provide a snapshot to the residents to be able to see from the total expenditures less the grants, what would that cost per resident look like? And this again is based on the 2021 census. We don't have a new census number yet. So that would equal to about $457 per resident for RCMP costs alone. The town's total fire department costs will increase by 13% from 677,000 to 766,000. These increases can be attributed to increase in training and increase in wages as the call volumes have been increasing. Now, normally I would turn it over to the fire chief at this point, but unfortunately he is out on a call at the moment and couldn't be called back to share his details with council and the community. So some of their 25 accomplishments, you can see here the purchase of the hose testers and testing of 75% of all hoses, mutual aid agreements with OCN Fire. They did 330 calls, purchased a new gear dryer, the purchase of new radios for the fireground communications, recruitment of 10 new members, which put the department at 27 out of 30 members, wage increase for paid on-call members, and the purchase of 7 new turnout gears to replace expired gear. For the 2026 capital projects, they have actually already replaced Command 1 due to some engine failures that existed and we were trying to limp it through for the last couple of years. And they want to complete the project carryover from 2025, which was the training ground CCAN. Their initiatives are wildfire education and pre-planning for the value protection setup, cancer prevention, some more hose testing, fire and safety inspections, a junior firefighter program, nozzle and hose replacement program, tri-community wildfire protection, and training grounds organization and cleanup. I apologize, I can't elaborate a little bit more on that. Our public safety services expenses make up 1% of total municipal expenses and will increase by 1% in 2026. And I believe Mike is in the room for him to be able to speak on the next two slides. Mike?
Laura, Mike is not here. There's an emergency call.
Oh, he was out on the call as well as volunteer firefighter?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So they did already acquire the second patrol truck. Again, $30,000 of that truck was covered by a grant. And the CSOs are certified as peace officers from the Brandon Police Force, doing patrols downtown and helping RCMP and the fire department. They're doing a lot of IPDAs and trying to keep downtown safe and working on bylaws and enforcing them. For their 2026 initiatives, they would like to work on communication, as CSOs have no dispatch while on patrol. Now, our front desk has been trying to help with that a little bit where they can. They need some more training in other areas like bylaws and EMO services. And they need more staff to keep up with the demanding issues that are rising around town, and need to improve equipment while being able to communicate with other emergency agencies. Again, apologies, I can't elaborate on that a little bit more. I was not given any speaking notes from these particular members. Again, that emergency call that they had to go out on. Recreation and cultural services make up 14% of total municipal expenditures and will be increasing by 1% this year. We'll go through these in some detail. So out of these, administrative and special program expenses consist of things like day camps, summer programming, and in the past, this is where the Moffat flow-through funding would have been, which is why you're seeing such a major decrease in this year. That Moffat flow-through funding was roughly $100,000. The community center expenses will increase by 3%. This is due to increased insurance costs and utility costs, some maintenance costs on the building and equipment, along with the annual increase in our staff wages. Swimming pool costs will increase by 15% this year. This is mainly due to hours required for staff to provide programming. Our budget was stated a little lower than actuals in previous years, so we have made adjustments for that this year. The arena costs will experience a 12% decrease as the planned maintenance required to operate will be decreased. In our parks and playgrounds, I will experience a 16% increase in 2026 for increased maintenance of the parks and green spaces. And now I'll turn it over to Jomar to go into some more detail with you guys. Jomar?
Jomar, before we go too far, just for the community, how come we seen a decrease in the skating arena, skating area and rent? With the extended hours this year, or was it not extended?
The revenue, you mean?
Yeah, like when it all cost over time, like so budgeted cost over time, so, oh, never mind.
You're talking about these costs here?
Yeah, behind you, why it dropped? Why did we drop that?
The maintenance the cost to maintenance has decreased now that we've got the new chiller and condenser in place. We're not constantly doing repairs and maintenance on those old items. So we've now been able to decrease these costs a little bit.
But we have that, so that's from that leak too? Was that leak repair in there, or do we have
This was set actually before that leak was detected and dealt with.
Okay. Okay, no, that's good, thanks.
Where do you guys want me to start here? Are we going through our accomplishments?
Yep, yep.
Okay, sorry, I just couldn't see it back there. So, in 2025, one of the big things we were trying to push forward within the wellness center is to get more personal trainers. We were able to train 2, so those 2 are now training. One, not as much as he's retired now, but he is picking up some clients here and there as his wife lets him. We do have one more in Maine that needs to take the test just so that they can be certified. We're hoping that person is able to do that within the next month or 2. One of the big things that's helped for me as a maintenance director is implementing the MaintainX app for tracking jobs and putting jobs out there in real time and having them check them off as they finish. So that has been something that has helped for myself and the employees a lot. So we implemented that at the start of last year and really helped me and our employees. The final installation of the rain turf line, Councillor Hopper's here, not here to talk me about that, but that was finished last year and has saved us a ton of time, especially this year, considering how much grass we need to cut. Normally we'd be, doing the lines out in the soccer fields and the baseball fields more often, which would take away from cutting time. So the amount of man hours we've saved on that to push towards cutting has saved us significantly. New infill material and more safe functional material at Arena 1 Ball Diamond. So we were able to finish that last year as well. And the plan to go forward within the other 3 ball diamonds, we want to put that kind of material in the other ones as well. And with the grant that Kelsey was able to get, we are going to go ahead and do that along with the dugouts that you see at Arena 1. We're going to continue that same structures at each of the other ones with the proper coating for our concrete. Our new parks maintenance machines. So we got the John Deere Batwing. So that's been added to our arsenal. Great addition to it. It's something that I think we can use also another one for the following season for 2027. So you guys can expect to see something for that from myself.
So Jamar, so right now, are you saying you're short equipment right now?
No, I would say we're short. I think the other 2 big units that we have, the other big unit, the Batwing is, it seems like it's near the end of its life. It's having to have more and more maintenance issues. I think a lot of it has to do with we're cutting in wet grass right now, so we're having to maintain it a little more and stop and take it to the garage. So that would be, if I could have one on a dime right now, yes.
What is the cost of those units about?
Oh, I want to say it's a better question for Sam. They're the ones that did the work on the issue sheet, but I pulled off the top of my head. I'm just guessing actually. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right now, though, are we short equipment or not?
No, we're not short equipment.
And so are we short staff?
We have 4 staff right now that are our green team. We normally have 5 or 6. I've budgeted for more than that. However, in my opinion, and with the amount of people that applied, it didn't work out to have an efficient crew of 7 or 8. The people that we do have are very good. I'm very proud of them. So they do a great job.
Yeah, exactly.
The addition of having someone that cuts after hours, after 3 o'clock, like someone's cutting right now, and the commitment of the ones that we have to do take overtime after hours and on the weekend has helped us. And that's where I think people don't notice how much they're actually cutting and doing.
Yeah.
Especially considering how much water we've gotten in the last week and a half, 2 weeks. I've even gone as far as send them out in the rain when we probably shouldn't be cutting, but they're doing it anyways, just so we could kind of stop the bleeding.
Yeah, I just want to sort of make sure that the right information is out there with the community, that it's not a budget line item that we're trying to maintain, that
Right.
whatever equipment we need and with the operation you guys have, there's challenges that come up with weather and that, and it isn't the reflection of our current employees.
No.
It's really, what else can you do? And I guess that's what this council has said is there's something needed.
Right.
Just
Yeah. Like I wouldn't ever say no to having another piece of equipment on backup. When something fails, I guess, so there's that, so I like, when you ask me, are we short? No. But if something's one or two things go down, then we are short.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know how to,
Yeah, no,
I
that
can
makes
say
sense.
yes, but I could also say no.
That's a little bit of a risk to take with how much spare.
But I will say, like, I was talking with Sam and Tanvir before this and in previous weeks. Like, it would actually be good to have another one for next year.
Okay.
But I wouldn't say no to it this year either.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, if it's needed, bring it forward.
Yeah. Yeah, so, moving on here to, we did add new hot water tanks and piping to the Royage, that fell underneath the rink upgrades, so it was nice, so they failed at just the right time where we still had money in that grant and we were able to push it to that. We not only added new hot water tanks, but we repiped it so that it can be isolated if we had to do so, where it wasn't before. Right, we're gonna have to think. No, wait. Park benches were installed, picnic tables were installed last year. And we had a very successful hockey school with the Northern Way Hockey Camp and both the Blizzard Camp as well. Both those are gonna run this year as well, so we're looking forward to that, having Connor back in the Blizzard running their camps. The wellness parking lot, a huge upgrade for that area. A lot of very happy members and customers that come through there that use that area now. There are some issues with it that need to be fixed, that will be done this summer, so there'll be a lot going on here in the next 2 months.
Perfect.
With that project and then the projects that are all coming to fruition here with this road. Going on to the air curtain at the pool, we've been doing a lot of stuff at the pool. One of the big issues were those exit doors, and then at first when we believed the doors were the issue, it was actually just the circulation and the heat around there, and then combined with the humidity, so the recommendation from one of the professionals was that the air curtain be installed. That saved us quite a bit of money that we're able to filter towards something else in the upgrade. So a lot of different upgrades going on with the pool with the dehumidifier project. Moving on to the bars at the Wellness Center and the stuff that we were able to add. I've mentioned before, we have limited space and stuff like that on the center now. We've kind of tapped out in our room, but in terms of bringing in new equipment, we were able to bring in a lot of safety bars, bars that are inclusive to people that have any kind of disadvantage physically. So those are being used, and a lot of happy people using those items. The mini backhoe, thanks to Tanvir and Sam, we were able to bring that in to help with the cemetery issues that we have, and they also brought in a trailer to transport it. So that was a big addition to our arsenal with the cemetery. So when we have to get into tight spaces, we're able to do it and maneuver around unique areas where there's gaps where we can barely get in but need to dig. So really happy with that addition. And again, like I said, I didn't have it on here, but they did have the addition of the trailer that transports that unit. And moving on to 2026, our capital projects, the arena dehumidifiers, those were installed this year. They're both up and going. Big difference in how the arena runs efficiently, especially in the fall, and then especially near the end of the season with the heat outside, and being able to run that makes our ice quality a lot better. So those were a big help, especially considering what happened this year when the ice plant did fail. Those things really came into play. Again, I mentioned this already, the ball diamond upgrades, Arena 1 dugouts, Kinsman and Centennial, the infield, the dugouts, especially re-landscaping at Centennial. Those are big projects that we want to do and make sure that our ball community is happy with those things. So we're getting some help from Tri-Community as well. So that's the ball club there. That's very, very nice to see their involvement, and they put a lot into it, both volunteer wise, and they've also sort of seeked out grants for them to help us with it too. The grow that we spoke about, phase 1, the track, Centennial Park, those things are all underway. We're just signing off on a lot of the plans. Really exciting. Kelsey and I were going through some things today with Tanvir as well, with the spray park and the fitness pods, and those are always finalized. So we should have a lot going on here by the end of the month. Okay, so that'll be moving on. We picked where the bathrooms are gonna kind of go. We have 2 columbariums. I just received word that they should be coming near the end of the month, so 2 new columbariums will be installed. That's another thing that's gonna happen right away. And then again, shifting back to the pool dehumidifier, a lot of the projects kind of gears just because of the dynamic of how it went from the pool dehumidifier to the pool cover and then back to the pool dehumidifier. And then now there's some other upgrades that we've included in it. Some that include the bathrooms, the flooring, the staircase, things that need to be done to upgrade the facility, make sure it has a life expectancy. So those things are well underway and are to be done during our shutdown. I think we've got our shutdown to be the very end of July. So the flooring guy will come in there, do the flooring while the stair people are redoing the stairs. So the stairs are being rebuilt by a local contractor here. And once that's finished, they'll take the flooring right up to the top there, and then new bathroom upstairs, new tiling in the showers. There's quite a few other things that we're looking at that we're kind of saving for a surprise for the town, but it will definitely impact our.
Is there any way of making that accessible?
Yes, actually, so one of the things is the chairlift that's being, yeah, it's in there, so. Yeah, there's a laundry list of stuff that's being added. I can't remember them all off the top of my head, but I did meet with the Paul Roadrunners, myself, Kelsey, Sam, Andrew. We met with them and they had a lot of great suggestions in what things can be improved, and we took that into account. About half of them were on our list already, so we were able to discuss about how we can tweak those to make it even better. So a great collaborative effort with the Paul Roadrunners. Some initiatives for this year. Oh, sorry. I missed one, our Civic Center accessibility upgrade. So long time project that we want to do the front entrance, including the back entrance. And then we're talking with Bull and Alexis. We had a meeting was it this past week? Last week. And now we're trying to include the flooring throughout the main floor of the Civic Center, including all the offices. So lots to come there. We're seeking some different funding sources so that we can staff it. So we're hoping that we can get that done in 2026. So some initiatives that we're doing, the vandalism, the graffiti, the removal program. So I think that was the last council that got passed to do the graffiti removal program. So once that comes in, I think on the 22nd month, as long as it passes a resolution, that'll go forward.
That's what we're waiting for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna just order it.
yeah, I would say go ahead. I think I'm supportive.
I almost did, but so once that's gone, it's gonna be ordered and we'll implement that. It'll be a great addition to, and the step in the right direction at least. And it'll involve the CSO checking up on the use of the kits. And then we'll also have our own kits for our staff to do and use on our own property. The park element and the Roy H bathroom element of the grow, so those things are being done right now too. We're not able to do the flooring and the glass this year, unfortunately, and not because we can't do it we can't do it this year, but it's more of a timeline of getting the product in before we start doing our ice. For the flooring especially, they couldn't get it in before we start building ice, which means there would be traffic throughout our building and they don't want anyone coming into the building when they do the flooring. So we're gonna have to push the flooring part to the end of the season next year. And then the glass part, I didn't want to risk not having the glass in and then having to do it mid-year. It just wasn't lining up properly. So instead of rushing a big project like that and maybe doing a half-ass job, I want to make sure that we have time to do it properly. We're going to push that part till the end of the season, and then have it ready for 2027. But the bathroom area, and then looking at the potential of the viewing lounge area, those are things that we're going to try to explore to see if we can still include that in this year's growth. Obviously, emphasis, I've talked on the grass. Every year that's an issue. We always try to stay on top of that, and there's been steps that we've been taking forward to make sure that we're trying to stay on top of the grass. including offering the OT, having someone work in a different shift that's not 7 to 3, that there's ongoing right now, and weekend shifts even. So there's been a lot of things we've done in that sense, and then obviously the addition of the John Deere and then maybe the potential of another one. So we'll continue to do that. The cemetery, I can't say it's been like I have any issues with the cemetery right now, and hats off really to our cemetery guy Desmond. He's done a fantabulous job in that area, with barely any help, to be honest. But he takes a lot of pride in it, a lot of passion, and he's really cleaned it up. And the guy works hard at it, and you can tell he really cares about it. So great job by his teacher, his late teacher that has passed that on to him, and I think he's really taken that to heart and really ran with it. Emphasis and enhanced relationships with local groups to increase collaboration on recreational upgrades. One of the things that I've talked about for a long time now is collaborating with local groups, Rotary, Kinsman, the Paw Miner, all the groups that are involved that use our facilities, to try and collaborate to come together to, you know, get one goal, agree on one goal, and whether it be helping to clean the ODR or coming together to put some money together to put towards the ball diamonds or towards the arena or whatever it may be. We want to be able to enhance those relationships. I think we have really good relationships with most of them. I think we can still do better and improve on it, but I think it should be a goal for us to increase that relationship to the point where we're not chasing, where if anything, they're coming after us to do projects and help us out that way. So I think it's a community thing. It's not just recreation, but we are heavily involved. But I think the biggest thing right now we need to emphasize is their involvement needs to be really hands-on instead of laid back. So,
No, and it's a great reflection on you and your team, Jomar, of building those relationships and keep strengthening, because as I mentioned earlier, municipalities alone, the ratepayers on their own can't afford to do everything. And we need those partnerships, whether it's organizations, whether it's federal, provincial governments. Those are the types of things we've got to keep strengthening. So
yeah,
good job on that.
I do.
Any questions for Jomar or anybody before we move on? Thanks a lot, Jomar.
No problem.
Appreciate everything you and your teams are doing.
Thank you.
And let the grass cutting crew go. We know they're doing a great job. And as I mentioned the other day, the work that you did about the weeds.
Yeah.
If you walk through some parks now, there is absolutely no weeds.
I will say that for some reason, well, it makes sense, but where there's water sources, the weeds are way worse.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're like along Devon Park and that part of like Kinsman, really bad, but Centennial, Arena One, Rotary, really like,
Nice.
yeah, really nice. So, but if you compare it, if you ever get a chance to go by Kinsman, when it's not cut for 2, maybe 3 days, the weeds are way worse there than it would be, you know, south of town. So, which makes sense, the river's right there, it's feeding off of that, so.
I'll keep working on it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so moving on to the Sam Waller Museum. Total museum costs make up 1% of the municipal expenses and will increase by 37% from $234,000 in 2025 to $322,000 in 2026. This increase can be attributed to having a curator for the whole year, along with increased costs to maintain heat, the building, and insurance. So I will turn it over to Jackson and he will go through some of his stuff from 25 and 26.
Okay. So, take a look at the accomplishments from last year first. I misplaced my journal today, so I have to make do with my little sticky notes. So. Okay.
You got a lot of them though.
Well, I'll try to go a little bit faster here. Okay, so the first one, so we had increased registration for our summer camps this past year. We ran 7 and all of these slots were filled, so We definitely, saw a continued success for those, and, we're looking to keep the success going for this year, which I'll talk about in the next slide, but, yes, so as Laura said, so we finally have, both permanent positions under me, at the museum filled now, with the education and programming coordinator and the curator. Excuse me. So, yeah, so it's gonna look at using those two guys to, make a great leap forward.
They did
this
a
year.
great job.
Yeah, and they've already gotten some rave reviews, and as part of the trade show, they were in the paper there, so they were pretty
Yeah.
excited about that. And one of the big projects that I wanted since I started as the museum director was the From the Vault exhibition series, where we took items that had been in the collection that hadn't been seen in years, decades, or maybe even hadn't been seen since they've been donated. And also, we did make use of actually Vaughn's donations as well, because the From the Vault was the Trapping History of Trappers Festival. And so Vaughn gave us quite a number of things. So we're very thankful for his assistance with that as well. This coming year, we're looking to do it again, and we're looking at probably the history of the valley and sort of the Roanoke Valley kind of thing. For collections management progress, so we made some slow progress with the database transfer as we continue, but where we made the biggest progress was with our new display cases and the acquisition of a new freezer. So those new display cases came in handy for the aforementioned From the Vault exhibit, and they'll be pretty good for basically years and years now. Next, we had the You Are Living History presentation. So this was sort of an initiative brought forth by our board members. And so we've done 2 of them so far. We did one for Culture Days and one for opening the Winter Trappers Festival for our exhibit. And they were both well attended, showcasing an interest in heritage in the community. So we've also taken to look elsewhere for additional historical presentations as well for this coming year. The final sort of big accomplishment was we continued the Home Route series. Unfortunately, they only had a smaller number of performers this year available for the concert series, but next year it looks like there's going to be about 6 rather than only 4. So excited for that. So we can move on to the 2026 slide here. So for the capital projects, we have the Rotary Room improvement that involves acquiring the new tables, which has been completed. So we can check that one off. We have these new banquet tables for the Rotary Room and for our reception or our more prestigious events at the museum. So. We're also looking at the new fire suppression system. We're still in talks over the grant for that, which is sort of the same area where we're at with the redesign of the interior of the museum, looking to be successful with our grant application for this attempt. The offsite displays, we're looking at having the first 4 ready to install by the end of the summer. And basically, yeah, we have 2 of them done right now for in terms of the design and everything like that. But we'll have to see how the next 2 turn out and what the cost is going to be from the company that makes these sort of hardback displays. And in terms of initiatives, so we're looking at doing weekly walking tours that are free to attend. They'll be at 2 p.m. In the afternoon out front of the museum on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And yeah, they'll be done by the summer students and hopefully in costume if we can get the costumes there in time. But yeah, we hope this will drive some more attendance figures for the museum. With the summer camps, we're looking to do them twice a week. So on each day that we have a summer camp, we're doing 2 sessions. We already have a number of registrations and signups for those as well, for both morning and afternoon sessions. Gift shop investment. So we've acquired already a host of new products for the gift shop, as well as reached out to various community artists as well, for some new products. So we've got a large array, a large selection, and, we're still looking to add a bit more here by the end of the year. So as I mentioned previously, so we have the second annual From the Vault, exhibition coming up. And yeah, we're gonna look at the history of the valley, in that one. And as far as community collaborations, we're looking at obviously a number of community groups. For example, the Legion is looking to put a display in for Remembrance Day at the museum, so around the beginning of November. We're also reaching out to the other museums in the region. So we've just this past week, we've touched base with the Cranberry Portage Museum as well as the museum in Flin Flon. And just sort of sharing ideas and looking at what we can do to provide sort of a bit of assistance for them, as obviously we're the full-time museum in the region and they're mainly summer operations. And the next sort of initiative is looking at doing sort of this Sam Waller's Museum Stories, making sort of these booklets based on different histories that we have in the museum. The first sort of initial ones that we're looking at would be booklets based on the history of sort of the companies that were in the PAW. So looking at something like Frichette's Dairy, the Finger Lumber Company, the Ross Navigation Co. And as well as we're going to look at doing a proper booklet for our founder, Sam Waller. And these are basically just things that can promote heritage in the region. And they can just be little things that people can take when they come in the museum, and that way they don't feel like they have to be pressured into buying something from the gift shop. They can still get a little souvenir, even if they don't want to spend money that way. And as it continues, probably our biggest challenge for 2026 has been membership, as it is for all sort of community museums in Canada. We extended our membership drive this year to be 2 months, just to see if we could get additional signups. We were seeing a larger retention this year at least, but we're seeing probably a limited amount of signups compared to last year during the same window. So whether it was just luck last year and that was the outlier, or this year is the outlier, it's kind of tough to say at the moment. But yeah, so that's really the main challenge, is retaining and acquiring new members for the museum.
Any comments, questions, for? Okay, well, thank you very much for all the great work you and your staff are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackson. So moving on to transportation services, these make up 17% of the total municipal expenses and are expected to increase by 6% from 3 million to just under 3.2 million in 2026. So going back to your question earlier, Mayor Murphy, with regards to airports, here's where you can see the total airport expenditures are just under $1.6 million to make up part of the transportation budget. Speaking of the airport, it will be increasing by 7% this year. The increases can be attributed to increased in cost of fuel and planned consumption of fuel for the wildfire season, the repairs to the pump house, and increased repairs to equipment as it continues to age. Bole, is Trevor online right now?
No.
So Laura, just as a note to the community, 2025, no airport significant reserve increase, or will you get to that?
We will deal with reserves a little bit later on as a
Okay.
whole for the, yeah. So for the airport in 2025, some of their accomplishments, of course, were record fuel sales. Unfortunately, that was due to the wildfires. They had no airfield electrical disruptions. The airfield movement area painting was done. We did have one employee retire, and we had some successful recruitments. They added some tools to assist the team and rehabilitated the water pump house. The airport team continues to professionally support their customers and include a base of water bombers, and it includes world-class management for the fire evacuees. And that was a huge thing that they contributed to in 2025. They did a really good job in dealing with the evacuees, our staff with some support from the administrative staff as well. And they did a really good job with that. So for 2026, their capital projects, they're looking at doing the terminal mural, which was actually just recently passed by resolution from council a couple of meetings ago. A new airport support vehicle, which has also been passed, but they're having a few little issues in getting the vehicle that was originally quoted, so they're trying to iron that out. The paving is being carried forward, as well as the electrical and equipment ACAP stuff. They did apply for those ACAP funds and we were denied due to them running out of funds, so we will hopefully be able to go for that again next year. So some of their initiatives and challenges are terminal enhancements like the siding and flooring and seating. Now, they did receive some new seating from the Winnipeg Airport recently. It's been donated to us. So hopefully they will have that installed this summer. Increase in airport traffic. Increase in airport revenues and market assessment of parking and hangar space and fuel. My apologies that Trevor's not there to elaborate a little bit more on this. The airfield electrical approval. And that's, I think, for all the issues that they've been having in the recent years with the lights going in and out on the runway. And the provincial interior lighting replacement program. So maintenance in the building, the hangar, and the terminals.
I think they were also looking at this year, a new airport sign, maybe a grant availability through Cedar Lake or something
okay.
like. And then I guess one other thing I thought about for the community to know that in 2025, Trevor did, I think it was in 2025, the second de-icing unit was purchased or secured so that we wouldn't have de-icing delays to airport. I thought that was last year.
So it was.
So that's good.
Yeah, you are correct. So thank you. So for transportation services, the public works side of things, administration makes up, there was 3% increase from 2026, and this increase can be attributed to a full year of wages for some previously budgeted vacant positions. Again, we have the drafting position that's now been filled, and then the new position for the operations analyst, that'll be there for a whole year. For our roads and sidewalks, this makes up 4% of total municipal expenses and will be increasing by 3%. So this is due to planned patching and dust abatement, increased in cost to repair some equipment, and boulevard and tree removal costs. Snow removal, which makes up 1% of the total municipal budget, will see a 15% increase in 2026. This is due to the cost of increased service levels and to repair some of our equipment. Other transportation expenses, this includes our drainage, storm sewers, street cleaning, traffic services, and the street lights. It makes up 2% of total municipal expenses and will increase by 4%. These increases include service levels for thawing and street sweeping, increase in repairs and maintenance, as they're seeing increased breakdowns, and increase in utility costs for our streetlights, as well as an increase for material costs due to the change of the faded traffic signs around town. Health and environment services, which includes the garbage pickup, the landfill, and the recycling center donation that's made. This makes up 4% of municipal expenses and will increase by 6%. Decrease by 6%. This decrease can be attributed to an accounting policy change, mostly for the landfill closure liability expense that no longer has to be shown as an expense in the operating budget. This now becomes part of capital, which doesn't affect the mill rate. Public health and welfare services will decrease, as a 2025 budget included additional funds for beautification, which we didn't have to include this year. Environmental development services will decrease slightly from 2025 for the weed control contract that the town has continued. For our economic development services, this makes up 1% of total municipal expenses and will decrease by 3% as the general operating grant provided to the CDC is decreased slightly for 2026. So I see Sam has come up to the podium there, and he will speak to the accomplishments as well as the initiatives and challenges for 2026.
Thank you, Laura. So Public Works, our 2025 accomplishments, sort of a quick overview. One of our most, one we're most pleased about is the Harley rink and the skid steer purchase. We've heard from the community they were not pleased with the level of service that we're providing in the back lanes. So we look for some better equipment, better tools to provide that service. So last year was our first iteration of it. We made some improvements this year. But we've had a lot of rain, so we haven't got the unit out as often as we'd like, but we'll be continuing that process and improving that process. Also the skid steer provides a nice backup for our sidewalk machines as they're getting older, and for the walking path clearing around municipal buildings as well, and also for maintenance to use on the outdoor rink to help improve that service. In 2025, we also did paving of several streets, resurfacing of several streets in town, including Campbell, St. Godard, and Cook. And we kind of finally put the bow on the Wellness Center parking lot. That project felt like it was incomplete and should have been done from the beginning. So it was really nice to get that paved, and lots of positive feedback from the residents, those that use the Wellness Center that come through the back there. So that's a very important part of that was completed. Also, we put the skid steer to work to help us. One of the mandates council has put forward is obviously is community safety. So we finally were able to do the reduced speed school zones that the community has wanted. The skid steer played an integral role in getting that done quickly. We've put a call into the province because there's a few spots that haven't completed yet that are provincially controlled streets. So they informed us they'd be getting that done this year for sure. So we'll keep the pressure on to make sure that they get that done. And then again, just in light of I think that maybe the rec director spoke about trying to have more of a mini excavator. Again, just having the right tools to do the right work. Efficient. Any questions on that? Okay, we'll go to the next slide. Thank you. So again, 2026 capital projects. So for the paving program this year, we're tackling targeted patching on Bagshaw, Reader, Traeger, and Lamb. These are areas that Mayor and Council at the beginning of their term identified as areas that need some work. The tender just closed on this, so this will be coming to the next council meeting for approval. So we're really excited about that.
Target start date?
August 1st, I believe, is what we're targeting right now. It actually depends also on the contract.
Yeah.
So we can go into it, but so moving forward with that. The next huge project we're working on is the recreation hub upgrades. The rec director may have touched on that, but the engineering department is helping support them in that process. There's lots of work that has to be done, that continues to be done. We've been working very closely with our counterparts in rec and also with the contractor from PlayQuest to get this project underway. And I feel that we've made some really good progress. We'll have an update at the next council meeting as well, sort of where we stand on certain designs we've selected to move forward with. The other large capital project is the new wheel loader. That will also be in front of council on Monday at the meeting for selection. We did a lot of due diligence on this to make sure we select the right unit And we spent time with our staff to make sure that they're bought in, mechanics, operators. And we spent some time to make sure the staff got to drive one of the units that we were interested in, to make sure they were happy with that. Again, the next item is fleet management and health monitoring. So this was the GeoTab project that was just approved at the last meeting. So for those at home watching, basically this is a device that communicates through your OBD port of your either a vehicle or equipment. And then it can track many things, but the health and faults of the vehicle. This allows us to be more proactive when we're dealing with vehicles that are breaking down or potentially getting ahead of the vehicle breakdown. So hoping to reduce downtime and add more efficiency to the department, and also help mechanics diagnose the issue a lot quicker. Some smaller capital projects. We've already completed replacing of the asphalt cutter, blade compactor, valve turner. The last one on that list is the trench cage, which we are in the final stages of the presentation for the operators and crew that will be utilizing it, to make sure that we are buying the right device for the right usage. So council should see that probably 2 meetings time. Some initiatives in 2026 we're working on, water conservation efforts. So this is sort of a several pronged approach. We're looking at leak detection technology to reduce the leaks that are already ongoing, getting ahead of them, getting back into our meter replacement program a little bit more aggressively to ensure that we're tracking the water usage a lot closer. Also moving bleeders to the consumption side of the meter, so we can track when bleeders are on, that we're actually tracking the consumption more accurately. That's a very important piece when we're reporting to Hub, to make sure that we're tracking those things so we don't have significant water losses, or at least we don't account for any water losses we have. Continued improvement on our back lane grading. That we sent the unit out, we sent the Harley Rake with the skid steer, with the gravel truck out to make sure that we're topping up the lanes. There's still room for improvement here. We're not done by any means, and also the public maybe isn't fully satisfied yet, and that's okay. We are going to keep striving to improve. Some of the areas that we do find that there's significant lane issues are also related to how the drainage, either off a building or a garage or a home, is being dumped into the back lane. That's causing these ruts. So we're trying to look at it as a holistic, not just one issue, it's a multitude of issues into one. So we're going to start using, some more technology to get that straightened out. Also, we're going to start surveying some of the back lanes with our drafts person to determine if there's some grade issues that we maybe have to completely regrade, or maybe just have bring them forward as capital items if the lane itself just needs a full renewal.
That's good news though, Sam, to hear that we're putting gravel in back lanes, because there is, I think it's very obvious that as much as the guys are trying to maintain what they have, gravel's sort of been pushed into the yards. And now you've got a sort of a bowl there.
Yeah, and we appreciate people, being patient with that we are listening. We're trying to improve that. We've had a little bit of rain, which makes it a little bit difficult. So putting gravel when the lane is wet is sort of just kind of a waste. So we understand people are frustrated, but we're listening and we hear you, and we will keep working on that. Another initiative we've worked a lot on is lift station upgrades and maintenance. So we added recently a backup power to 16th Street lift station. That's the lift station by the former Good Times restaurant. So in case of a power outage or any kind of power failure, we have a gas backup that we can utilize there. So that's important. We've done lots of pump maintenance. We have the water treatment plant and the staff did a lot of pump maintenance. I don't want to take any credit for their work. So just continual improvement to ensure those lift stations are functioning properly for the residents of the community. Hydrant repairs and maintenance. This is something that the fire department has made a priority that we want to work with them on. There's some hydrants in town that are not functioning at the level they should, and there's some that are down. So we've been working with our drafts person to create an inventory of the issues that we have, the hydrants that are down, that are lacking function. We've also spoke with our water sewer crew about the hydrants that they're aware of that are down. So we prepared a presentation to sit with the fire department to make that presentation. We've used insurance insurance information to prioritize a hydrant based on density, so obviously public institutions, so your hospitals, your schools, your old folks home, things like that would be the priority one. And then we'll work backwards from that, so we'll present to the fire department, the chief and the deputy chief, hopefully in the next week or so. And then we'll create a plan to start replacing those hydrants that are in need of repair and replacement. Again, continued improvement. We did some improvement last year on crack sealing. I believe by the end of the season, we kind of were in a better place than we were previously. When I drive around, I'm not seeing any of the rubber snakes in the road, so they were holding, but it was a bit of a learning curve, but I think we're getting better, so we'll start to see that deployment probably in July or August. We'll kind of see. It's very hot to work with, so it is weather dependent. You know, working with that and +30 is not ideal. We have more staff coming on by the end of this month, beginning of next month for the summer, so we'll be moving on that. And that's just an important thing. So we're making these investments in our road renewals. So crack sealing is a good way to sort of maintain that investment or prolong the life of that. Something we've been working on sort of behind the scenes also is parking and safety. So we've had a few complaints about some areas that they bottleneck during rush hour. It creates a bit of a blind spot, difficulty for traveling. The bus drivers have raised some concerns in some areas. So putting together a list of areas of, are there signs that are missing that need to be replaced? Or is there just no signs in those areas that maybe need to be addressed? So that falls with the sign inventory maintenance and the parking safety. So we're looking at that as a whole, and we'll have some recommendations for some changes for council before later this summer as well. Frozen line initiative. It's not really, it might not be clear in this, so every year we deploy somewhere around 20 hoses to people who are frozen in town. So someone's line freezes, we try to thaw them. Perhaps we're unsuccessful for a multitude of reasons of getting them thawed. So we connect them temporarily to the neighbor with permission. The process of hooking up a hose, insulating it, and getting that all put together is at least a half a day worth of work. So if somebody accidentally turns that hose off, or there's some damage to the hose or whatever, taking that hose apart, bringing it back to the shop, thawing and getting another hose out, it could be another half a day to a day's worth of work. So we've been trying to look for different ways to approach this, more efficient ways to approach this. And we found a technology that is actually utilized by RVs. So it's like a heat trace insulated line that comes all together. So you don't have to put it together. It's all one piece. So we're looking to maybe buy a few of those so that we're ready for the winter to deploy. And we'll plug them into the home that's requesting the water. So even if something happens where the water's actually turned off, it won't disrupt service. It could be a huge savings of labor cost for the town.
Who pays the hydro bill?
The person who needs the water. I know we knew that would be the, so we'll look at, that's part of what we're looking at, is how much power to draw and what kind of costs we're looking at, so that we can inform the resident of that. Any questions?
No.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Sam.
And everybody.
Okay, moving on to fiscal services. These expenditures will decrease by 60% from 6.9 million to 2.7 million in 2026. Fiscal services are a mixture of our debt payments as well as costs for capital purchases that are covered by either the mill rate or grants. So last year we had 2 debenture payments that retired, and that was $375,000 a year that we paid for those. While the remaining amount is mostly related to, again, the capital assistant program related projects that were included in the 2025 budget. There's just over $8.2 million in capital projects slated for the 2026 year, with financing coming from grants, taxation, debentures, and reserve funds. So reserve accounts for about 3.8 million. Taxation is 84,000. Grants and donations is 3 million, and a new debenture for the recreation hub project upgrades in the amount of 1.3 million.
Yeah, so just so people understand, just so it's clear, because so $82,000 for the capital, $82,000 is coming from taxation to be applied to the capital spending for 2026. Right?
84,000. But
Or
yes,
84.
which
84.
is basically like 0.25 of a mill rate. The rest of it comes from our existing reserve accounts where we have saved money, or again, like you have stated earlier, the amount that we put in there for additional amounts from the extra income from the airport, which I believe was about $1.2 million last year that we added to that reserve account for the airport for the extra income from the wildfire fuel sales. As well as the
Right.
grants and donations that we go for every year.
Oh, perfect. Thanks, Laura.
So here we've just outlined, over the last 10 years, the town of La Paz invested, pardon me, just over $51 million in capital projects.
And that's $17 million there. That's the landfill or the lagoon, sorry.
Lagoon,
Wastewater.
yeah, that big increase was due to the lagoon. So reserve contributions, as you can see here, have not necessarily kept pace with capital replacement, and they do make up 11% of total municipal expenses. There will be an 18% increase, however, in these amounts this year, and this can be attributed to the reallocation of the expired debentured funds being invested now into our capital reserve accounts. So here we've outlined the existing debt. If you would have seen this slide last year, you would have seen that under our general operating debt, there would have been 3 debentures. There is now 1, and our lagoon has not changed. So the total amount here again that expired is $375,000 in annual payments. For our utility service revenues, these will be increasing by 2% for a total of $76,000. These increases can be attributed to the Public Utility Board approved rate increases for 2026. Here we just wanted to provide you with a snapshot of exactly what the Public Utility Board order did entail for increases. So effective April 1st of 2025, they approved these following rates for the next 3 years. For utility services costs, these will also be increasing by 24% in 2026. These amounts include increases for thawing required, increased costs for materials pardon me. I just flipped my slide back too early. Increased costs for materials. Lots of that stuff's been going up due to some of the economic challenges we've been facing with our trading partners, as well as some capital expenses that are going to be covered by grants, and increases to transfers to reserves as the Public Utility Board order laid out in the board order that was just mentioned for utility rates. In that board order, they told us how much we were allowed to contribute to our reserve accounts over the next 3 years. That was laid out for us. So I'd also like to note that the utility fund is not funded through taxation, but 100% funded through water rates. So any of the overs or unders do not affect our mill rate at all. Okay, so any questions from council or the public?
No, I think we have one resident, Mr. Rodelius here. He's got a.
I assume this is gonna be online?
Yes, it is, yeah.
Because I have a number of questions and observations, but I want to go over it carefully and then put it in writing and I can just send it to you.
Yeah, you can send it to the office, like send it to Bola, and for sure Laura should be able to answer any questions you have.
I should say that this was a very clear presentation as I've seen in the past.
Oh, no, that's good feedback. Thanks for that. So I don't know if you caught that, Laura, but Mr. Rodelius just commenting on how clear the presentation was, and he appreciates it.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay, if I don't see any questions, thank you so much for all the hard work you've done, Laura, and as well as all the staff that have done all the work out there. We know it's, we as council are always pushing for more and residents are always pushing for more. We really do have to balance that to what we can really have, so thank you for that. Okay, so moving on, we will have the first reading, of the bylaw. Somebody should have a resolution for that. Thanks.
Resolution number 2026-103, moved by myself, second by Councillor Commodore, resolve the council approve the 2026 financial plan as presented. And that bylaw number 4667, being a bylaw of the town of Napak to impose and levy property taxes for the town of Napak for the 2026 fiscal year, be read at first.
I don't think we have any further questions with that, so call the question, all in favor? Opposed, seeing none, carried. Could we get a motion to adjourn? Councillor Commodore, motion adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for watching today. Again, just to close up, if you have any questions, please just email them to the office and somebody will be able to